Direct from the web, it's Billy Masters Live. And now, please welcome your host, Billy Masters.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to Billy Masters Live. I am, of course, your host, Billy Masters, and today is, they haven't put it up yet. Please put it up. Thursday, April 23rd, 2020, because I have no concept of what day it is, where I am. Every day's a weekend, let me just say. And as usual, I am going to start the show with a little anecdote from my past. So if you watched one of the preview shows, which they were all online, please, by the way, go to our YouTube page, subscribe to the channel, because if you subscribe to the channel, the bandwidth gets better. We can embed live shows on Facebook easier. It can go everywhere. So please, we need people subscribe to Billy Masters TV. Anyway, if you subscribe, you will see that there were two preview shows before this series actually started. And one of them had my good friend, Richard J. Alexander, who is a Broadway producer, director. He's been an actor. He does it all. And he had been, I guess this was about 15 years ago, 2005. He had directed and helped usher in a new musical version of Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. Because when I think of toe tapping, I think of Great Expectations. And he had the great luck. Well, there was a great cast. It was Hugh Panaro. It was Anastasia Barzi. And it was the great Cloris Leachman playing Miss Havisham. So I was in. First, I had a huge crush on Hugh. And Anastasia, I think I had seen in Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. But Cloris Leachman, come on, she was Phyllis. And I was very excited for the whole cast. All right, I don't know if this is an indictment on the show. I have absolutely no recollection of the show at all. I don't remember it being terrible. I don't remember it being amazing. I just remember I went. But what I most remember is meeting Cloris Leachman afterwards. And she was dear. She could not have been nicer. And she was so spry and so with it and so quick and so funny. I should have her on this show if she can, manage the technical stuff. So I was very excited to meet her. And then I met her a bunch of other places, and she always remembered me. Here we are, I think at the Emmy Awards. And then I ran into her on a red carpet, and I think this might be an Emmys or a Golden Globes or something. And she said, "Billy, walk with me," because she was by herself. Cloris Leachman was by herself. Anyway, a year or two later, and I was at a benefit called, I wish I'd looked this up, like Animals and Others, if I remember, or Celebrities for Animals and Others. I don't really remember. I remember Linda Blair was like a chairwoman or something. Anyway, they were honoring Mary Tyler Moore, and I thought, this is my chance to complete my Mary Tyler Moore scrapbook and get photos with everyone. Although I really haven't gotten very far with that. So I was seated at the table next to Mary, and I was told by the press person vividly and strongly, you may not go up and speak to Mary. And this is somebody who had really gotten me into a lot of shows and taken very good care of me. So I thought to myself, can't piss him off, unfortunately. Well, all of a sudden, who goes to sit next to Mary but Cloris Leachman? And so I said, well, they said I can't talk to Mary, but I could talk to my good friend Cloris. So I go over there, start walking to the table, and Mary gets that look on her face. And here, for those of you who meet celebrities, let me just give you a little tip. When they start looking away or start talking to somebody else, they don't want you to come up to them. They have a sense when people are coming up to them. And Mary suddenly got very interested in her salad. So, but I didn't even look at Mary. I went over to Cloris. Now, my friend, actually a friend of my first guest tonight, he was at the next table. And I said, just take a picture of me between Cloris and Mary, even if she's doing something else. So he's clicking away. So I go over to Cloris, and she said, "Oh, I know you," but couldn't come up with the name. I reintroduced myself, and we're talking. And she said, "Oh, what was that musical that I did?" And I said, "Great Expectations. Richard J. Alexander directed." Well, suddenly Mary pops up from her salad and says, "Richard J. Alexander, he's a good friend of my friend Bernadette Peters." Now, I'm a little pissed off at Mary because she's got the attitude and now she wants to chit chat. So I look at her and go, "Yeah, he is. Anyway, Cloris, back to important people." But at that moment, my friend did take a picture. And so I do have a picture with Mary. So Cloris and I are talking, and Mary, who barely shows up on film, by the way, was just going back to her salad. Now, the only one I still need a picture with, Betty White. I have all the Golden Girls, no Betty White. I have all the people from Mary Tyler Moore, no Betty White. If anyone out there knows Betty White, please, I beg of you, let me get to her before death comes a-knocking. All right, today's show. This is a little different because it's not like the other shows. This is really based on the project. There is a web series, which we'll talk about what a web series is, called Forever. Oh, Jesus, I'm going to screw this up. I knew I would. Is it Forever After? No, it isn't. After Forever. Okay, thank you. Forever After is that Drew Barrymore movie where she was like an old Cinderella. Okay, anyway, this series, I didn't know anything about web series there. I don't know everything, but you can see it for free if you have Amazon Prime. And it stars two openly gay actors who are also big gay icons. Both did a lot of work on TV and in theater, as a matter of fact. And one of them is the producer and co-creator and the star, one of the stars. He would get very angry if I said he was the star because, he's a lot nicer than I am. So I want to bring him out to talk about the project first. The first guest, Mr. Kevin Spirtas.
Hello,
hey, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? You are not the star. You are a co-star.
I'm a co-star. I am. I'm a collaborator and a co-producer, and very, very proud of this piece.
Well, it's interesting. I knew that you had people may know you from theater, from soaps, but I also know that a lot of people may not. You have produced before and produced on Broadway.
Yes, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and Finian's Rainbow, and there was a couple other shows that were on their way. And
aren't you also involved in Dear Evan Hansen?
No. I kind of brought some money to it, but
all right.
Clean.
Okay.
But I love the show.
Oh, well, yeah, it's a great show. But so first off, just on a purely technical level, were there skills producing a Broadway show that translate into producing a TV show?
Yeah, I have several mentors in New York. I'm in Los Angeles now, and Alan and Barbara Marks and Jamie DeRoy.
Sure.
Yeah, and they've been the ones who have really guided me. They showed me the ropes of how to gather people who were interested in theater and interested in investing in theater. And theater is a very risky medium, and the business is very, very high risk. And I just thought, if I'm going to take people's investment, I want to do it on something that I can somewhat be in control of. And when Michael Slade and I got together and we started to create this project, he informed me. He said, I really don't know a lot about raising money. And I said, well, I don't know a lot about structure of, scenes, and storyline, but let's help each other. And we just sort of hold our resources, and I wanted to do something that would help move our story and our content forward. So it was sort of like just kind of cross-pollinating.
Well, so let's just tell people that Thank you. I love this. You're giving me the jazz hands and collaboration.
That's Spirtas.
So Michael Slade is co-creator, and he's written all of the episodes. So let's describe what the show is about.
Well, Michael and I, first of all, Michael is an alumni of Days of Our Lives as a writer. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, probably closer to 6, I had moved to New York, and he saw me at a gym, and he came up to me and he said, "Aren't you Kevin Spirtas? And if so, I used to write for you guys on Days." And that's how we started talking. And at that time, I was very interested in web series and telling story that I felt was personal. I hadn't created a web series at this point. And we started to talk about how gay men of a certain age, 50 and over, and the world that we occupy is very rarely continued to be expressed or talked about in the canvas of storytelling. And that intrigued him, and we started to talk, and that's how After Forever was born. It's about two men in their 50s who have everything in life, great relationship, they're married 15 years, they have great apartment, great friends, great jobs, until one day they don't. And the spoiler alert is, for anyone who hasn't seen it, shame on you, I play the role of Brian, and my co-star Mitchell Anderson plays Jason, and Jason is diagnosed with a terminal cancer diagnosis, and very quickly into the series you learn that he is dead. He has died. But it's backtrack, it's flashbacks, it's present, and we've got it all kind of on 3 levels where my character conjures him up at times to move story forward and to help guide him through the healing journey.
Which I don't think he does particularly successfully a lot of the time.
Well, I think Michael and I had, when we started to create this, Michael lost his partner about 2 years prior before we met to this very diagnosis. And when we added this, into the story, the great thing was it gave us it gave us this range to have everyone deal with loss. And it wasn't just Brian, but everyone's trying to push Brian into starting over again, having a new life, and putting Jason's memory to rest. So one's own healing of loss happens exactly as it's supposed to happen.
Right.
There's no handbook, there's no rule book, there's no guidelines to how this happens. And even everyone else's push and support, it doesn't matter. If you're not ready to move on, you're not ready to deal with it, it happens as it happens.
And even when, again, kind of spoiler alert, when he thinks he's kind of ready at the end of season 2, he may not be.
Well, yes, you're correct. And also, I think the great thing to remember is that whether you lose a person through loss of the relationship is lost through death, or you have the end of a relationship in real life, just you don't talk to the person anymore, the relationship still exists. The love still exists, and you can't escape that. So it's a way you have to make peace with it. And love never dies, and I think this relationship is evident of that. So season 2 is about the relationship is not really perfectly remembered as the saint Jason.
Yeah.
The relationship has got its cracks, and that's what you get to see in season 2.
I also think you brought up an interesting point about whether it's mourning the loss of a relationship because you break up, or the loss of a relationship because someone dies, because those two things come to a head in season 2. And your character brings up a really interesting point, which is, to the other person, you broke up, you had closure, you moved on. It was thrust upon you.
Yeah, and David, played by Mike McGowan, does a wonderful job in, we have a great butting of heads, and but I think it's beautifully written, and Michael just so eloquently and so beautifully created this arc of butting heads and trauma between the two, and discomfort, and it's also Brian's own dealing with that, which is uncomfortable and unsatisfied and scared and fearful, and dealing with loss. So it's always about the person.
Mhm.
You're just hearing it.
Well, and you also brought up the idea that perhaps on reflection, one romanticizes the person or the relationship. And we start to realize, I had been wondering in season 1, nobody's this perfect.
Yes.
I mean, and I love Mitchell Anderson, but come on.
Who doesn't love Mitchell Anderson? Bring him on. My God. Who doesn't love my fake husband?
Because I want to talk about you, because your character, when he starts to realize that maybe he's not remembering it as it was, I start thinking that maybe there is a little further mental issue of a cognitive disorder, or that he's coming to terms with there's more that he hasn't dealt with than just grief.
Yes. And I also, well, here's the thing. I think there's a lot of guilt. You know, how come one person dies and the other one's left to go on and continue on? And I have not ever experienced the loss of a partner. I have experienced loss of family members, grandparents, teachers, close teachers to me, a pet, of 18 years. Loss is loss. You're all going to deal with loss. And there's the guilt of, survivor's guilt. And there's also, you don't want to look at the bad stuff. And that's why I say the love is the only thing that is real. The love is the only thing that really mattered. And until you understand that, can you get past the crap? I feel.
But you do have to also acknowledge the reality of it, because it's easy for someone dead to be perfect.
Well, of course. But aren't they? No.
Well, right. And aside from dying, everything was good. But was it?
Exactly. Well, and you find out. You definitely find out what's buried and what's stuffed under the surface.
And lastly, before we bring up Mitchell, there was one interesting thing towards the end of second season, which is while all of your friends are trying to get you to move forward in a really, I don't want to say like, oh, get over it, because it's been a year and a half at the end of second season, but one person just comes forward and is kind of a little bit pissed that you're moving forward and it's easier for you than it is for her.
Well, and again, the story in second season really opens up the lens to showing that it's not just Brian's loss. Everyone in the circle of friends is dealing with this loss. And though they think that they're dealing with it until they're confronted, and I think you're talking about Lisa's character.
Right.
Yeah. Played by the extraordinary Katie Huffman. It's a hard thing to handle. And people don't like change. People don't want to see change necessarily unless they're really in it and confronted by it.
And because you're the one still alive, you're the one that really gets the fury from her, because it has to come out somewhere.
Yeah. And I also think that their relationship, the two of them, is also very, it's very strained, for lack of a better word.
Well, one relationship is not strange, which is your on-screen love interest.
Strained. I said strained. Yes.
You did. You said
okay. Yeah, I thought you said
not strange. No, strange. So let's see if we have him here now. He's been popping in and out of the studio. So let's see. Do we have Mitchell Anderson? We have a black screen.
Mitchell.
I don't.
Mitchell,
can you hear me?
there? We hear you, but we do not see you.
Okay. I'm technologically challenged, so I don't know what's going on.
At the bottom of the screen, does it say stop camera?
Or start camera?
Let's see,
wait,
video.
Okay, something's happening.
Well, this is what he looks like.
Audio.
I am well aware of
that's
it.
good. Wait, what? Maybe I should try to get out. Wait.
Yeah, reboot. Reboot and come back. We'll talk about you behind your back for another reason. So let's talk about him, though. Okay. How did you decide to bring him into this project?
When Michael and I were putting together the cast ideas for season 1, I asked him, I said, who does he see playing Jason? And I had an idea for Mitchell. Mitchell and I have been friends for 30 some odd years. We
Oh, wow.
we cut our teeth in acting class in LA. We would go up against each other in different roles, but we remained friends. And even when he moved back to Atlanta to open this wonderful restaurant, Metro Fresh, and because we shoot each season in 12 days, and this 8-episode arc is fast and furious, I knew as a producer and as a creative, I wanted to create a relationship that just hit the ground running. I didn't want to have to worry about touching or hugging or creating some energy. I just knew that if I could be working opposite one of my good friends, maybe that would be a trick. On top of it, he's so talented and he's so loving and he's delicious. And I'm so glad he said yes.
And now he's back, but again, I see no picture. Mitchell, you still have no picture.
Mitchell.
I know. I don't know why my camera on my phone is not picking me up. Is there?
We had you backstage.
You did have me, and then I had to switch to a different internet because I was losing y'all.
Oh, okay.
Are you on Chrome?
But now I don't know why I can't get on screen.
When you go in the studio, do you get the opportunity to test your camera and audio?
I only got a chance to test the audio.
Oh, it didn't. So it's not detecting a camera for some reason.
Yeah.
But we've got you here. So I'm going to just say, let's go with it. And he can be a little mysterious and occasionally. Oh, wait, actually, hold on. Wait, let's show. There's a picture.
There you go.
There you go. Now, if I just didn't want to see. Yeah, if I didn't want to look at either, you can just show the picture. But of course, I want to at least look at one of you.
Here. How about this? That's Mitchell.
There you go. So let me ask Mitchell a question. Mitchell, what did you think when you got the series? Like, what made you come back to acting? Because you had kind of put it behind you.
I did. I totally put it behind me. Never. When in 2001, when I left show business, I never expected to be on camera again. I've done a few plays since I moved to Atlanta, but it wasn't even on my radar. And then Kevin called me and said, hey, I've been working on this project. I want to send it to you. Will you read it? And as soon as I read it, I fell in love with it and was just blown away that Kevin asked me to do it, because in all of the years that I was, in show business as for a living, I was never offered the chance to do something as rich and full and sweet and loving and beautiful as this part and this project. It was such an exciting thing for me. And, it was not easy to do, only because I, run a busy restaurant. Right. But I was able to, get away and go to New York and do it.
Had you ever worked together, or did you just know each other aside from in class?
We met in an acting class in 1985.
Oh my God!
And I know it's like so long ago. And we never worked together. Have we ever done any readings together or anything, Kevin?
I don't think so. I really don't.
We're always in the same circles. We have a lot of mutual friends. We've been friends for all of those years.
Yeah.
And, one of the great joys in life is hearing Kevin Spirtas sing. So whenever he is doing a show, I would try to go see it. So.
Now, Kevin Spirtas, at that time, you were not professionally Kevin Spirtas.
When I first started in the biz, I was Kevin Blair.
Which is your middle name?
Middle name, yes. And then at some point, I wanted to reclaim the name of Spirtas. I was just telling a friend of this telling this to my boyfriend. I went by the name of Kian Spirtas for a while. Don't get me into it. It was just a temporary identity crisis. And then I'm now back to Kevin Spirtas.
Was using Blair, was that an identity issue, or did you think it was more show busy?
It was a couple of things. When I moved to New York at 18 years old, I found an agent who wanted to represent me, and he said, I can't use an actor with 3 names. I was going by Kevin Blair Spirtas. And and he said, Kevin Blair's a great stage name. It's got
never worked for Sarah Jessica Parker.
I was just going to say you were ahead of your time.
Well,
You're a trailblazer.
I'm a little further ahead than Sarah Jessica. So by the time it was her turn to have three names, it was okay. But he said Kevin Blair is good alphabetical billing and blah, blah, blah. And but I wanted to reclaim my heritage and my family. And I thought Kevin Blair at one point was a little too flowery, and I didn't think it described my energy. But now I'm Kevin.
You're back. At least, well, I was going to say you never changed your first name, but apparently you did.
I did.
Well, there you go. See, I didn't have any idea about that. Now, you both came out at a time that it was, well, I think Mitchell, did you come out before Kevin? I think you were one of the first.
Now, I was on Party of Five, and at the 1996 GLAAD Awards,
I was there.
I was playing a gay character, and I was kind of at that point really. It was weird to me to not be out. But at that night, somebody asked me on the press line, what's it like to be straight and playing a gay character? And at that point, I was like, this is embarrassing. I cannot do this any longer. So at that night, I came on stage and said, this isn't, the story out there is not true. This is the truth. And it changed my life. It really did. It made my whole life make sense at that moment.
What did you say to the press person on the red carpet?
Oh, that same line that everybody uses, that my sexuality doesn't matter about the character I'm playing, blah, blah, blah. And it just didn't ring true to me any longer. Yeah.
I have to say, Mitchell, that night, you may have changed your life forever, but I know you touched and changed mine. It was an extraordinary night. And I remember that we all stood up and just applauded you. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was an incredible night. But then for the next couple of years, I really dove into an activist life, which in and of itself was life-changing, because it meant a greater cause than whether or not I was going to book the next episode of Who's the Boss.
They had their own gay character already at that
correct. But and also I believe that it was the beginning of my transition out of show business, not because I wasn't enjoying show business. It just was, I was looking for a greter purpose, I think, for me.
Well, I think that authenticity has to. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it was just why it's extraordinary to sort of be back, and why Kevin's offer to be part of this incredible show has been like full circle. It's been amazing.
Well, I think that authenticity, once that cracks and you really start dealing with things, it spills over to every other part of your life. And now you're coming back acting as your authentic self, which has to be even more liberating.
Yeah, well, that, and it's not what I do for a living any longer. So I found in the first season, I showed up at the set and was able to just be in the moment and not have that voice over my head saying, are you good enough? Is somebody going to see it? What's the next job? All those things that enter into your life or enter into your mind. But, my job is making delicious, healthy food for people, which is what I did all day today. So.
Yes. Yeah. You were telling me.
Mitchell, we had fun on the set.
We did.
That is a rare.
That's a rarity.
But isn't it more important as you get older that if it's not going to be fun, why bother? I mean, that may sound sort of pretentious that you're in the position to make those decisions, but I think that is the most important thing.
Well, it happened that we were having fun. It happened that we had an entire team that was signing up and moved by this piece, and things were going smoothly. And I mean, the only thing that I think we did not have fun on second season, because first season was like a blast. Second season, there was a night that the guy they call our president was in town, and they closed down some streets, and we had a lot of traffic that we had to get around for a street scene. And I remember also some of us in the cast were going through the Mitchell got very sick. Maybe that was fluish. I can't remember. You were down for a little while, but we got through it all. And so that was the only non-fun, but everything else. Right?
It was still fun, Kevin. It was all right.
Okay, it was still fun.
Well, Mitchell was the one sick, so.
I got sick. Everyone got sick. He just
really.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is also, I was just going to ask you about the shooting schedule, because now here's what I would recommend to people at home.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the full season, it is, you think to yourself, oh, eight shows, I'm going to have to sit for at least 4 hours, maybe 8 hours. These are really built for the web. So you can sit and watch the first season like you would watch a film. It's roughly, I think, 87 minutes, the first
87 minutes is the first season, and the second season is about, it's an hour and 40 minutes. So,
right.
But
also, I mean, that includes credits beginning and end, which, no offense to the craftsmen, you can just keep clicking and just get past it.
And Slade and I were very
big investment of time.
Sorry, say it again.
It's not a big investment of time, and it actually holds together like a film.
We think so. Michael and I were very inspired and creatively excited about telling a story in short form, telling each episode these little tiny movies that you can sew together, and they have this overall arc. And I think, I mean, first of all, Michael Slade is your secret weapon. If you want to write a really great series or a show or a play, you call Michael Slade. He's an amazing writer and an incredible wordsmith. And I feel blessed, and I'm sure Mitchell has said the same thing, that he's just wonderful to have there to put your words in your mouth.
And so you shot this in how long? The season, say one season.
Each season, both seasons were shot in 12 days. No, 12 days separately. So a total of 24 days for both seasons.
Right.
But they were shot a year apart.
And were they shot a year apart?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because that's the interesting, is that you guys do look slightly different in the second season. I think to myself, oh, maybe after death, it's not one of those that they look exactly the same.
If you watch them back to back, you see there's more gray hair.
But what I liked about that for your character is that I actually was able to see the passage of time, because the second season is 6 months later?
It's 6 months later after we have left season 1. Yeah.
Mitchell, so since you have a partner and a business in Atlanta, how disruptive to your life was this?
Well, I have to say the first season was a lot easier. The second, only because I had one store at that time, and that store's been open for a long, long time, and it ran very easily. Although everybody had to work a lot harder while I was gone, and I couldn't get back in the middle of it. So it's disruptive. The second season was a little more challenging because 3 weeks before we started shooting, I had opened a second restaurant.
Oh, wow.
So I left my team, at a very inopportune moment. And the challenge for me was that I was on the set every single day. And a lot of it is me coming in, as you saw, like at the end of a scene, making a comment or, but one of the challenges of shooting in New York on a limited budget, shall we say, is there's no like honey wagon or room or so you're there and you're in a tiny apartment or a little office or and you're just trying to find your own little corner. So I couldn't really take my laptop. I couldn't really communicate with my team, and so it was a little bit more challenging for me this last season.
I'm sure, but I have to point out that first season got, now let me look. Kevin and I talked about this. Was it 6 Emmy nominations and 5?
We had 8 Emmy nominations and 5.
5 wins. So that, and these are daytime Emmys for, again, digital web. What is it? Now, what is the category called?
Outstanding digital drama series.
Right. So you've really been pioneers in coming up with a new format that is taking off, because when you started, it probably was really an unknown territory, and now there are other people doing
actually,
this.
Billy, I would like to point out, when we've gone, Kevin's been to a lot more award shows than I have for this show, but I am incredibly impressed by the product that is out there in web series.
Really?
This was a category, like you, I had never even heard of. And when Kevin asked me to do it, like, I didn't know that this existed. Yeah. And yet the product out there is really good. And it's surprising because, you know, the budgets are limited, but the production values are good. The acting is really good by and large. The direction is great. The writing is amazing. People have stories to tell, and that's what I love about it.
And I have to say, it looks great. It really does. It looks great. And I'm really always fascinated that the way technology has worked, you can do so much today if you have the right people with so little money and resources. Now, I don't know what it would look up blown up on a screen. I'm sure you would see.
Fantastic. As a matter of fact, when you have this, it's digital, and we shot it in a way where it looks like a movie, and
it looks like film to me.
Yeah. I have to give a shout out to our line producer, Allison Denor. We couldn't have done any of this without her. She knew about the scheduling and how to get the right locations and, you know, alternate people back and forth for this much time here and that much time elsewhere. And our incredible cinematographer, Colleen Kwok. She has this very indie film feel. And our first season director, Jennifer Pepperman, and our second season director, Tina Cesa Ward. And
am I correct? Jennifer Pepperman also won an Emmy.
She won an Emmy. The show won the Emmy for Outstanding Digital Series. Jennifer won for directing. Michael and I won for writing. Erin Cherry won for Outstanding Supporting Actress. And I shared my lead actor award with Mitchell Anderson, my fake husband.
Well, it really is, even though there's a lot of great people, and I had said to Kevin, one of my favorite actresses, actually not even actresses, one of my favorite people is Anita Gillette. And who is it that's her husband, Lenny?
Lenny
I mean, what great parents to have, Mitchell.
Both of them are incredible and so beautiful and lovely people. And Anita just looks at you, and she's like my mother. Like, there was no time when we were on the set that I didn't believe that she was my mother. In the second season, the whole sequence of speeches at the memorial service.
Oh God,
I was there that day, and that was a little bit stunning to be at your own funeral. But hearing Lenny Volpe do his eulogy, his speech about Jason,
and the exit sign
every single time.
Yes, the exit sign. Yeah. That whole day was quite a masterclass. Everybody just was amazing. Katie Huffman, Anita Gillette, Lenny Volpe,
including Finn Douglas.
Finn Douglas, who plays Riley, and
oh, he's so good.
The two Paul Stern and David Dean Bottrell, and there's also oh my gosh, Jonathan Rayson and Peter Kim.
Well, so since we're name dropping, you have gotten some famous friends to pop in. I know season 1, did I see Michael Urie in a couple scenes?
The ever incredibly talented Michael Urie, yes. And we were going to have him be in season 2, and he got the job, and it conflicted.
Bastard. And who else have you had on?
Jim Newman. The incredibly talented, handsome, sexy Jim Newman, who played Ron in season 1 and 2, and Mary Beth Peel played my mother in season 2 as well.
who I love also. I mean, again, a great actress.
And of course, Katie Huffman, who's just the most amazing person in the world.
Well, Katie Huffman, yes, we love Katie Huffman. She plays
I like when I get to meet people's friends on the show, because you wonder, are they people that we identify with? And one of them turned out to be one of my friends, so I thought I'd have him join us, and that is Bill Brochtrup.
Oh my God, Bill!
Hey guys,
Billy!
hi. Hi.
Great to see
Hi,
you.
how are you? I know.
This is what I do.
Hi.
I spring people on you.
Bring people together. I'm great. I've really been enjoying listening to you guys talk about this show. It's awesome.
What brought you into the show, Bill?
Well,
please, Kevin.
Bill came to we were at Sam Harris's screening of his movie in Hollywood, remember? And Sam's here. No, and Bill came up to me and he had said, "Oh my God, I love your series. Oh my God, I love your series. I'm going to be in New York." And I went,
Yeah, I mean, basically, I begged him. I said, if you have anything, I'd be happy to do it, because I'm such a fan. Well, first of all, like all of us, I'm a fan of Kevin and Mitchell's and that whole cast. I know a lot of those guys, and Katie and I did a movie together. So I love that whole group, and I was really taken with how well it turned out, and so impressed with the writing that Kevin and Michael had done, and a story about about us. And so I really wanted to be a part of it in any way I could. And they very graciously found something for me to do. So I spent a few days in New York enjoying these guys.
So fabulous. Oh my God, my heart is so full. It's so great to see you, Bill.
Thank you. You too.
You all also come from a strong theater background, so you really are able, which I believe is so important, to be able to crank something out quickly. You've done all the work.
Well, it was I was listening to you guys, obviously before this at the beginning of the thing, and talking about how we've all known each other a long time. And Kevin and I did a show many years ago.
That's when we met.
Yeah, many years ago. And of course, then I knew Mitchell from, like you all saying, from auditions, from around. We all kind of came up at the same time. I will never forget the night that Mitchell came out at the GLAAD Awards. That was one of the most moving and important things for all of us guys working in television. It was really meaningful to me, and I'll never forget it. So
Bill, now speaking of coming out, when did you come out? Because you were also playing a gay character on television. Were you out prior to that?
I'm always like, I think that's in a funny way, a hard question, because it's like people think that there's one day you're in and the next day you're out. And I think it's a process you go through, telling, yourself, telling your family, telling your friends, and then some people have the opportunity to then do it in the press for a wider audience. And it was a really hard decision. This is back in the early 90s. It was very difficult. When I started NYPD Blue, I had a publicist who told me not to, and did exactly what Mitchell was saying, like, oh, I don't talk about my personal life. And I always felt like sort of an idiot saying that, but I did that for the first season, and then I sort of stopped. And I said, I still don't talk about my personal life, but I am gay. And I agree with Mitchell. It was a very liberating, it just made me feel great. And, in fact, it was Jonathan Tollins, who is a playwright friend of all of ours, who said to me, do you want to be at the beginning of a new trend or the end of the old? And I was like, well, when you put it that way, do you want to be a dinosaur left behind? Do you want to be one of the people who comes out early and speaks out about it? And it was like, well, when you put it in those kind of terms, the choice is pretty simple. And
but isn't it funny, Bill? Isn't it funny to look back 20-some, almost 30 years ago, how different we all felt?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're all in our 50s now, so it's a different life, and we're adults. We have gravitas that we didn't have. But gosh, in that time, in the early 90s, late 80s, it was scary to be gay.
Scary.
And not only health wise, but career wise, and all of those things.
Yeah.
Well, I think we probably all had representation who said, this is a terrible idea, don't do it. You'll never get to do anything except for play gay characters, or you'll be stuck in a rut or something.
Well, we were
Well,
also.
that's interesting because Kevin, you were in a completely different situation because Bill and Mitchell were playing gay characters. You, however, were not. And you were really, I don't want to say a heartthrob, but you were sort of a romantic kind of character.
Oh, he's still
I do want to say heartthrob.
Yeah, well.
Here's what I know. And Mitchell and I talked about this once. There was this thing that occurred in my life where, I knew that we weren't supposed to talk about our sexuality, and so I had to cover, and I had to, act straight. And you walk into a room, and not only are you acting straight, you're going to put this character on top of this thing that you're acting that you are not, and then you have to perform. And it was and my manager once said to me, and this was after Will and Grace had aired, and there was all this gay content starting to come out on network, little by little. I was very afraid that people were going to find out about my sexuality when I landed this role on Days of Our Lives, very late in my career. And I remember going into work thinking, oh my God. And my manager said, Kevin, you're the only person who doesn't know you're gay. And I remember going, oh. So I took the pressure off of that. And I didn't lead with I'm straight. I just led with I'm a guy. I'm an actor. This is my job. And I'm Kevin. And by the time I had met Michael Slade in New York, I was always turned on and arrested by the great personal stories and the heroic stories of truth that people were telling in the news and in life or in my circle. And I thought, what do I know about in my life that's most important and most personal? And that was, I was a single gay man in the dating world. Mm-hmm. I knew about that. So when I met Michael, I was ready to tell a story about that and display part of my truth. And then Michael's addition to that was this incredible storyline with the cancer diagnosis, which is what made Brian single. And
well, I think what's interesting,
told me 20 years ago, if you would have told me 20 years ago that I would be thanking people for being in my truth, on the award show and kissing, Mitchell Anderson, that was the joke, but it was an honor because I took longer, but I got there. So
well, you and I were talking before we came on the air that we had met going to a show. We're not quite sure which show. We've been in line
at the Wadsworth. It was at the Wadsworth.
The Wadsworth. That's where it was. And I vividly remember you were friends with the person I was with. And, you guys, all three of us were gay. We're all kind of the same age. We're all talking. But I, being me, said something very loudly. And you just looked, could you have said that any louder? And I think because if I'm challenged with something, I go, as a matter of fact, I could. But I remember thinking, oh, he really went from being very comfortable with gay men to being very self-conscious. And that's when it occurred to me that given what you were doing, just being in line with gay men must have been something.
It wasn't a problem.
You must have had to be hyper aware. You must have been hyper aware whenever you were in public of anybody seeing you.
Yeah. Now I don't care.
You have to remember what a different time this was. There's been something we even talked about in the day. I can remember having these kind of conversations with these guys and others about how we hope that what we're doing will make it easier for the next generation of people. And that's kind of where we are now. And I hope that has become true, that it has become easier and less of a big deal. And a show like the one that Kevin's made is able to be accepted by mainstream audiences in a way that it would never have been then.
Well, I think Kevin hit on it. It's all happened so fast. I mean, I know the kids today talk about why aren't things happening faster. To me, things have changed leaps and bounds in a very quick time.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I think that it's because of the work that some of these guys did
before us
made that happen.
Yeah.
Kevin, don't you feel like the feedback from the show from, both professionally, but also from friends and family who are not all in the LGBTQ, RST, UVW, XYZ world. But like my neighbors who love me and love Richie and know our lives are thrilled that they got the honor, the pleasure of being able to see After Forever and go through that journey with us. And not because it's a gay story, but because it's a story about loss. It's a story about life and family and friends and love. And that's where we are. It's 2020. There's a lot more important things going on in the world than whether or not somebody is gay.
Well, I think that scene in season 2 when Mitchell's character's parents come to stay with you, and they're really discussing how you haven't moved on and that everyone has to do it at its own time, and that you have this straight couple really talking about loss overall. It has nothing to do with gay, straight, whatever. It's just universal.
Yeah, and I also think too, and Mitchell said it, it's a love story told in a gay thematic tone, but it's a universal tone of and theme of loss. And when Michael and I receive emails and letters from fans, it's women as well, in their 40s and 50s, and it's young men saying, my father lost my mom 2 years ago. I think I understand what he's going through now. I mean, it's just amazing how it just cross-pollinates and touches everybody. And that's what I know Michael and I are most grateful for.
Bill, I saw you last year. Last time we saw each other, Bill and I were talking. He had done Daniel's Husband, which was a play.
He was amazing.
But what was brilliant about it was the amount of time he had to actually be on stage, not reacting to anything.
Right.
But it was another, there was a different kind of loss, somebody who was there, but not there.
It's very true.
It's a beautiful play,
An amazing performance.
Thank you. I'm going to say something that I think is true about this show, which is that I think that we had found, Kevin, it really is what you were saying about when we were younger and you're trying to, butch up or some kind of a thing, and you are then trying to act over that. And it's there's something opaque in the work. And I think that the chance to play gay characters and just be ourselves and bring more of ourselves to the part makes the acting better. And makes it super specific, and in that specificity, I think then you'll find a universality, and I think that's what this show has done, and I believe that's the reason that people of all walks of life can relate to it, because it's specific and therefore it's universal.
Yeah, thank you.
And authentic. Again, I use that word.
I think there's an authenticity, and I hope we could bring that to this play I did, Daniel's Husband. I think it's what all of us here have been bringing, I hope, to our work as we've gotten older and more secure in ourselves and in what we're doing. And I see that and that's why it was such a joy to get to work on the show with these guys and with David Bottrell and the whole Jameson Stern, the whole crowd, all the crowd was there. It was really a treat for that reason.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to just single out a few things. First, Kevin, you did a film that came out in 1997 called Green Plaid Shirt, which was sort of in this genre, but an extraordinary film. And let me just say, I had been a reviewer at the time of the gay and lesbian film festivals, and I was used to seeing the most god-awful films that were ever made that I was chastised for whenever I would say that, because gay had to equal good, and I refused to accept that. And that was one of the first films I saw that I went, good is good, and this was really good film.
Thank you. That was that was the year. It actually came out in we filmed it in 96. So I was doing a play called End of the World Party at the Celebrate.
I remember that too. Yeah, you're perfect.
Our cast won the award for Best Outstanding Gay Play or something the same night at the GLAAD Awards that Mitchell came out and was. that was an amazing night. But we had filmed Green Plaid Shirt during that time. And I remember I went to my friend Barbara Deutsch. I don't know if Mitchell or Bill know.
Yeah, of course.
But she was my career coach, and I was so nervous about taking on this gay role because I had gone to Video West and looked at all the gay titles going, I don't like that film, and that film makes me, and oh, that's what makes me horrible. And I said to Barbara, Barbara, you know, if I do this film, you know, and she goes, what do you want me to tell you? I said, I don't know. Everyone will know I'm gay. She goes, you know, I said, what about my career? She goes, you don't have a career. Do the goddamn film. And it changed my life. That was the beginning of stepping into my truth. And I'm very proud. Richard Natali wrote and directed that. We did that movie in 12 days, and we had a great cast, and Greg Phelan and Richard.
And it also looked good. I have to say again, most gay films then looked crappy, and that was not only a good script, great performances, and it looked good. It didn't look like it cost $1.50.
I gotta say, I saw the After Forever at a screening on the big screen here in LA, and it looks great.
Doesn't it? Thank you, Bill. It was a lot of fun that night. It was a lot of fun.
And then Mitchell, let's talk about the Karen Carpenter story for half a second. So now, did you think you were playing a gay character in that?
You know, that never really came up.
Okay, I was just curious.
So, you know, of course, Richard was on the set the whole time.
Oh, well, all right.
And, you know, there's a lot of repression going on in that family. So,
how do you
I know
play
that's
repression?
not so much of a newsflash, but
yeah. Well, so this is 1989. You're not out gay.
correct.
You're a repressed actor playing perhaps a repressed person. Does that help or does that hurt?
Well, in this case, I think it really helped. I mean,
There you go.
I just love, there's a scene, this is how repressed it was. There's a scene where Louise, the amazing Oscar-winning Louise Fletcher, who plays Agnes, my mother, Richard's having trouble sleeping. So she hands him a handful of Quaaludes and says, they're for sleeping. The doctor gave them to me. And that's how repressed everybody was back then.
Oh.
And then Mitchell then took those Quaaludes and passed them out to all his friends.
His friends were not very repressed. Now, Mitchell and Kevin, you both have a connection that you were in big sort of horror franchises. Kevin, Friday the 13th, and Mitchell, Jaws.
Yes, right. So Jaws is the one of the best jobs I ever had because at this late date in so many years later, I still get surprise checks for $200 or $300.
It's the best.
So
God, come on.
I'm not kidding. It's
Bill,
so
are you
exciting that I get that free money.
Kevin, what about Friday the 13th? Are you getting
Oh my gosh. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The Hills Have Eyes, Part 2, Subspecies 2 and 3, and Albino Farm, where I own the albino.
Albino Farm.
Yes. Oh, it's a
classic.
But yes, I love the residual checks, especially every Friday the 13th. There's someone is going to binge that series of movies, and I do the circuit every once in a while where I sign autographs at these collector conventions, and yeah, at Lard Park Lincoln, my leading lady from Friday 7 joined us at the Emmys this last year, and she was so proud of and she's dealt with loss. She lost her husband early on in a relationship, and she was just so impressed and touched that she said, I have to be there when you guys win. And I said, well, I ain't guaranteeing. And she goes, you're gonna win. And she was there. So
and we have another alum from horror genre. Russell Todd says hi to everybody. Was that from
I love Russell.
Movies, I think. I should have had him.
He did Friday. He did Friday.
Friday? Okay, there you go. Never even thought that. Bill, did you do a horror or slasher film at all?
I don't remember doing one. But I did spend a summer with Katie Huffman in Dallas shooting something called Space Marines, which was
They count.
it was kind of a horror.
And Mitchell did Space Camp. So it's all, you know.
And I did, my very first movie was called Deadly Dreams.
I remember Deadly Dreams.
And
that was mentioned. You were also in one of my favorite. Well, you know, the classics never go out of style. You were in a film that I loved, and I really fell in love with you. Now watch, I'm not going to be able to find it. Yes, Relax, It's Just Sex.
The best.
1990. Great film, great cast.
That movie is one of my favorites, and it was an incredible ensemble piece that was a little bit ahead of its time. If it had come out 2 years later, I think it would have been a huge independent movie. But
it had some momentum behind it when it first came out. There was a lot of buzz about it.
Yeah,
there was, and it went to Sundance. But it just, the sexual content of it was, I think, a little bit hard for some people to take, or let's say the MPAA just didn't like it.
Yeah, I do remember the couple that would discuss Martha Stewart while sex was an awfully hot scene.
You were so good.
Yes.
And so was your rage scene in the alleyway, which we really can't discuss. But I guess the fact that I'm turned on by that probably says too much about me. But this show, again, After Forever, you begin each episode with sort of questions and sort of circumstances. How do you feel about something? So I'm going to ask you some of them as yourselves. But before I do, let me say, Kevin is the one that asks the questions in all of these, which I think is very interesting. I don't know if that's by design.
I think one or two. The first season, because it was all through Brian's, mind and his eye. Yes, he asked the question first. But in second season, is that how it worked, Mitchell? I can't remember.
I think you do ask the questions.
I think so.
Time. Hey,
well, I took it that you were trying.
So don't question him.
Well, I took it that you were really processing how you felt about that.
I think you're right. I think there was one time that maybe because I thought Michael had reversed the order of something.
Maybe.
I said, shouldn't it be Brian? But it's the second season especially. It's not, all flashbacks are not from Brian's POV. That was the way we opened it up a little.
And also, these opening scenes, these questions are usually, well, I don't want to say usually, but certainly in season 2, it seems, a lot of them from your honeymoon or wedding. Although the first season, there's park stuff. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Reverse?
No spoiler alerts.
Spoilers.
Oh, geez. Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you questions. Let's see. Okay. Hey, the four of you, stranded on an island. You have two choices. You know this is the first one that I thought of. You have two choices of a companion. The most hot, gorgeous gay guy who'll have amazing sex with you, but is dumb as a stump. And no matter what you do, you will not be able to increase his intellect. Or a straight guy who you have the most interesting conversation with, but if you had sex with him, he'd kill himself.
So, go ahead, Mitchell, answer this one, Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell, go
100% the straight guy. I know that's boring, but that's what I'm going to say.
As we've had the answer in season 1, you would teach the dumb straight guy.
No, you can't.
And then you can't teach him. And then Mitchell, Jason says, "I'm not playing this game. It's stupid."
I hate this game. It's stupid.
All right, but what would
a great line,
Kevin? What would you do?
Oh gosh, I'm. What is the question again?
Are you shallow or are you an intellect?
Well, today, let's put it this way. Right now, let's play the shallow card. Let's play the shallow card.
I love that you're on it, Bill.
I'm always for the intellectual type.
Yeah,
I have to take this opportunity to jump off like a lot like everyone in America, I have a Zoom call coming up, a Zoom meeting.
Oh.
So I cannot thank you enough for including me in the whole series. Kevin, Mitchell, it is always a joy to see you guys.
So great to see you, Bill.
Bill,
Sorry.
we love you.
Love you, Bill.
Thank you. Please be well. Please be well. And please, everybody, if you have not seen the show, watch both seasons of it. Binge it. It's a perfect thing to do during this time. I'm really proud to be included, and I love it so much. Because Billy, great to see you.
Sweetheart, thank you. Okay, you two aren't off the hook. Okay, is it cheating jerking off with someone else?
It depends if there's kissing involved.
Yeah, don't talk to me what your character says. What would you say? Or are you that much like your character?
I'll say this. I mean, I'm in a relationship now, and albeit it's long distance. I have no desire right now to look outside of my connection and commitment with Anthony. So I'm.
But say you found out he jerked off with someone else. Is that cheating or not?
Oh, slip. I don't know. Is it cheating? I think this is a very interesting thing. And I think Mitchell and I actually talked about this at one point. Each relationship has its boundaries, its rules, its outline. If your outline and your ruling is monogamy, then that's a cheat, I guess. But that's not where I'm signed up for right now. So,
Mitchell, what about you?
Honestly, I think that relationships are a lot more than about sex. So it's probably not the most popular view, but I would say that is not necessarily cheating.
Okay.
Can you believe I said that, Kevin?
Well, using me in that scene, I don't know, but
But
I've been married for 23 years. Richie and I have been, so a very, very large part of our lives. And I think every relationship is certainly different, but the sex part of a marriage, especially when you get older, is totally different than the sex part of a marriage when you're younger.
Yeah.
So I think maybe if I was in my 20s and I was in a monogamous relationship, I may say that yes, that's cheating, and it may be like, hey, why didn't you do that with me? But as you get older, the sex part just doesn't make that much difference. So maybe it's a little bit easier to.
It's where your heart is, and not your body.
And also, the opportunity isn't there ever, so it doesn't. I can say whatever I want.
Wait till season 3.
There was the caveat in the show that was their kissing, as Kevin brought up, and I think a lot of times, especially for relationships where the sex isn't necessarily there, the kissing is more intimate, and that's what hurts people when that happens.
Yeah, I would think that if there's an intimacy that is breached and created outside of the intimacy that you have with your relationship, that to me is definitely cheating. That is definitely
yes, and that to me,
and that's. I'm sorry.
That would break my heart.
Yeah, and that again comes down to what you are creating and what your foundation of your relationship is, and that to me is the most important. And it's a personal thing with each person. So. Each couple.
Okay, and last question.
Oh,
would you rather be famous and broke or rich and anonymous?
Oh, rich and anonymous. Come on.
Mitchell?
The only part of that, the premise of that question I don't love. Because it means that the money is important either way. So
right.
I would say
true.
I'm not so interested in fame. I'm not so interested in money.
Right. So let's just play with it a little bit. What about famous and unfulfilled, or poor but felt very fulfilled, doing something?
There you go. That's the latter for sure.
Yeah, that's a great.
I feel like honestly, I have a very successful life. I had two successful careers, neither of which made me rich. But the career that I have now in the kitchen is unbelievable, especially right now, because we are not open except for 2 days a week, delivering amazingly healthy, delicious home-cooked meals to, I think tomorrow I've got 90, I've got about 90 orders for tomorrow. So
and this is my favorite recipe right here, McChili. Mitchell's turkey chili.
Life. So, but it doesn't make me rich. But I've never been motivated by money.
Well, and then it kind of, I guess, even though I said that was the last question, I'm going to do one more with you, because you talk about in the show the luck of the draw. Do things happen for a reason, or do things just happen? How much is chance, particularly in terms of making you happy?
I think happiness is a choice, but I think fate has a lot to do with the direction that your life goes on in. I was thinking about this the other day because a friend of mine passed away on Easter Sunday from COVID. An amazing man named Robbie Brown, who was in New York City, incredible friend. And because of Robbie, I met so many other people. So I was thinking about how fate plays an incredible part in your life, but also you have to take the opportunity to have fate be that important in your life. And, meeting Kevin, I mean, how Kevin and I can remember when we were in that acting class together. We talked afterwards. We flirted a little bit. I was in a relationship. So we never did anything.
But if you had jerked off, would it have been cheating?
At that point, yes, totally.
Okay, just asking.
My ex-husband would have killed Kevin, and then killed me. Yeah.
After killing you.
And
right?
That's true, Kevin, right?
I know. Well, I know, but this is a very interesting thing too. I think you're right. Fate does come in play here, but I think opportunities are sent to each individual, and you have to be open to acting on them. And then certain things, I also believe, Michael and I had this universal crossing point at the gym that day. And I always say, After Forever was meant to be born regardless of where we were. Right. And it was going to come out somehow. I could have been on the moon. He could have been in France. We were going to cross paths, and this story was going to be told. And he had things to work out through the story, and I had things to work out through the story, and this great relationship of friends and collaboration between the two of us is it's in my heart. It's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. But it is the luck of the draw, and if you don't act on that luck of the draw, it's like a comet comes around the earth and close to it every once in a while, and then it goes away and it comes back. You got to grab onto it when it's there, and
you have to be prepared. You have to be at the right point in your life to take that opportunity.
Preparedness makes it's very important. Yes. That's making,
I think that's what luck is. Yeah. Luck is, opportunity and preparedness intersecting. I brought, we're wrapping up, but I just want to say, when we started doing these shows, and I say it all the time, if you would like to donate money, there are so many great organizations out there. But I had been watching the shows that Seth Rudetsky and his husband, James Wesley, had been doing for the Actors Fund. Yeah. And I told him, and he said to me, well, why aren't you doing something? We all owe it to somebody to keep people entertained, give them content. And I had done a talk show pilot maybe 15 years ago, but here was opportunity, technology, and the right time just coming together. And so wherever this goes, it's giving somebody something to do and maybe promote other good projects like this, After Forever, on Amazon. Free.
Amazon Prime in the UK and the US, and you can also see After Forever worldwide at bingenetworks.tv, and that's a pay-per-view, but you can access bingenetworks.tv anywhere in the world, and you can see our little show.
which is a very entertaining show. It's provocative. I think we've given you enough that you know it's provocative. It's really going to make you question a lot of things. And great performances by, of course, these guests, Kevin Spirtas, Mitchell Anson. Little in performance by Bill Brochtrup, who I love.
But powerful by Bill.
Billy, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thanks, Billy.
Guys, it has been my pleasure. Everybody out there, look, stay safe. Tune in on Tuesday. We have the legendary Bob Mackey is going to be here, and Anita Pointer of the Pointer Sisters, both of them. Yes. So it's I am so grateful to my guests who are doing this and playing. We're just having fun. We hope you're all staying safe out there. What else can we say? Guys, any charities that you're pushing before we go that you're supporting? Kevin?
The Actors Fund and Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Those are my two very important.
There are local chapters of an organization called Frontline, which are helping both frontline hospital and first responders and local restaurants.
There you go. You've got a choice. But, you know, if you have the money, give, even as so many people have told me, even $1, $5, it makes a huge difference. But take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. Be safe. Be well. Guys, thank you for doing the show. We will see you all next Tuesday. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Billy.
Bye.